Hey everyone, this is Robert from Mindclash, and with Voidfall's development now finished, we wanted to give you a short video overview of the development directions and improvements made since the Kickstarter campaign last year. This is just a quick summary using the final Tabletop Simulator module. If you are interested in the changes in greater detail, we suggest checking out David's design spotlight entry on BGG, linked in the description below. First, let's take a look at the Galactic Board. It is now more compact and streamlined than before, but still retains its functionality of navigating you through the game cycle without having to reference the rulebook. You may also notice that the player order section became a lot simpler. Instead of the old time cost system, we now simply choose our positions in reverse influence order. This change, and many others like it, has been made in the spirit of removing some decisions that were not interesting enough to warrant the additional complexity they introduced. The core gameplay is very robust and deep, and focusing on that while cutting down some of the added rules complexity made the game a lot more intuitive and fun. Another example of this is the Upkeep system. Previously, Upkeep icons were scattered throughout the game as a cost, which made tracking it a bit difficult and fiddly. In truth, the core gameplay role of Upkeep is to encourage expansion and to keep players from overextending with agendas, so the revamped Upkeep system focuses on just these essential functions. Now, the only places you'll find the Upkeep icons are the last installation and guild spaces of a sector and your agendas. Upkeep is now twice as expensive, but it will often amount to only a single digit when you have to pay it at the end of the cycle, so there's no need for an Upkeep track anymore. Looking at the sectors more closely, you may notice something else that's new. These are the glory tokens, our new method for combat scoring and incentivizing combat properly. Now, when you conquer a Voidborn sector, you can score all of your glory tokens, you can have up to 4, and when you conquer a player sector, you score all of theirs. This makes it harder for peaceful players to become a target, but also rewards rapid expansion against the Voidborn. At the same time, it drastically simplifies the resolution of sector invasions. Once the combat is over, the invader simply takes and resolves every token that's on the sector. There is no longer any need for influence calculations based on your empire size or any sequences to remember. Everything's right on the sector. Finally, testing proved that glory tokens and the play patterns that emerged thanks to them made the Voidborn reinforcement mechanism unnecessary, eliminating another, often procedural step from the end of cycle sequence. That doesn't mean that you can let your guard down though, since at the end of the cycle, the Voidborn can potentially attack one of your sectors instead. Speaking of sectors, Ian O'Toole eventually created 50 unique sector illustrations, way more than what we promised in the original campaign, including some amazing home sector illustrations for some of the asymmetrical houses. House asymmetry was another hot topic during Voidfall's development. Between home sectors, starting agendas, house abilities, and civilization tracks, there are many unique aspects of each house, but perhaps the most defining are the unique focus cards. 10 out of the 14 houses have at least one of these, featuring very thematic actions and some of Ian's best artwork. A good example is Dispersal, which went through countless iterations to make it feel truly flavorful. It replaces the standard reinforcement focus and, as a unique effect, allows you to quickly relocate your population from one sector to another, highlighting the nimble and nomadic nature of House Fenrax. Looking at the focus cards more closely, you may notice that we added unique thematic names to every focus card action. This made the theme much more prevalent and actually made it easier to understand the iconography of the card effects. The same is true for agendas. All of them now have a unique name, but the changes don't end there. Playing agendas no longer costs resources, but to reduce lucky combos, we've restricted players to having at most one agenda per type in play at any given time. Agenda cards still consist of a flat and a multiplicative scoring part, but failing the former no longer denies you the opportunity to score the latter, leading to less analysis paralysis and fewer all-or-nothing situations. I left the largest topic for last, the solo and co-op mode. About 2/3 of our development time after the Kickstarter went into polishing the solo and co-op experience, and the result was well worth it. The most important thing to solve was to make the peaceful economic strategies feel just as fun and rewarding as the militaristic ones, which have very clear and satisfying goals in closing the rifts and dealing with the harbingers. This is where safe havens come in. They are new game elements exclusive to the solo and co-op mode and symbolize the colossal effort of constructing hidden, safe harbors for humanity fleeing from the Voidborn. Constructing them requires reaching some difficult economic milestones, but finishing a safe haven is almost as impactful to winning a co-op game as closing a rift. And finally, instead of twisting the rules a bit to make them apply to solo play as well, we designed a second, modified set of the co-op mode's joint focus cards. These are called the Heroic Focus Cards, with similar effects but specifically designed for solo play. This allowed the joint focus cards to be more about cooperation for multiplayer, while the Heroic Focus Cards are now more about plugging holes for solo play. I hope that this video gave you a useful overview of the changes in Voidfall. This is by far the longest developed and most playtested game that we've ever made, and we can't wait to get it to your table. If you'd like to try the final version yourself, the Tabletop Simulator module is already available, and you can still late pledge for Voidfall on GameFound until the 21st of October.